Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome back to Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner. My name is Cleo Duke Wright, and I own the bookstore on Blue Hills at 677 Blue Hills Avenue called Books, and we're always happy to have you come down, visit us, talk a while, have a cup of coffee, relax, read a book. We're always there for your convenience. Just want to get that out first. And today we have a very special guest with us today, a storyteller. She's got lots to tell us about her history in Hartford and her experience in storytelling and acting, and she's just sort of, when it comes to the arts, sort of a, what do you say, how was that, a craftsman's all, I forgot that saying. But I might think of it by the end of this program. But she is a multi-talented person that we have here today. And I'm so glad, very glad to have her. And her name is Joyce Small. She's not new to AccessTV.org, but she is always welcome. And today, she's going to tell us some stories, and we're going to learn a little bit about her. How you doing today, Joyce?
Oh, I'm doing great. Little jitters, but all right.
A little jitters? Oh, that's all right. Yes. That's all right. The stories will come out just perfect. Mm-hmm. Just want to ask you just some things about yourself.
Yes.
About, you were brought up in Hartford, yes. Brought up in Bellevue Square.
Yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit about how you started in the arts and storytelling and in acting.
Okay, as far back as I can remember, being raised in Bellevue Square, I'm telling my age, the 1940s. It was after the Great Migration. People settled in places like Bellevue Square and Stowe Village, Rice Heights. But in my particular building, there was a lady, my godmother, who was from the South, and she was like my mentor. I learned about the arts through her, and we also learned it at church too. But every special occasion, she would give me a book. So that's how I first became in love with books. They were nursery rhyme book, as far as I can remember, again, nursery rhyme book, and books about chivalry, King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table. But most of my experience came from it came from at home. It came from home, from people who were, like the village people, like in the motherland.
So these
yes.
people who were your godmother and the people
yes.
around you who were teaching you your art
yes.
that you have used throughout your life, they were not formally educated people.
Right.
Correct?
This particular person, my godmother, was she was more educated than my great grandmother that raised me, and it was like this: the person in the village who was more educated, that's where you would send. Those were the people that you would learn theater, different arts and crafts from. And was something else I wanted to say. I was trying to remember. I can't remember. It was slipping because I wanted to try to tell. Oh, they themselves. She herself was a performing artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she taught her children, and then she passed it on when they got, I guess, too old. She passed it on to me. I was around about like 7 or 8 years old when I started learning about the theater, the arts.
So where do you think it's going? Before I'm going to ask you this question, and then you can tell your story. Well, where do you think it has gone from the time that you were a child, and you would go and you would hear the stories, and I would give you the books, and if you were like me, they gave you the stories, and your imagination soared. You could see everything in that story. You could see it in your head, so you would just kind of get excited. So our creative juices were always going. How is that? I think that was then, and how are we doing now today? That
I really think that they should, those like myself, should pass that on. It's not as we're not doing as much as we could do or we should do, because one case in point, when I was a little girl, sometime I wouldn't even go out to play. I would listen to the elders tell fascinating stories. I always had they were passionate. So that's why even at this age, I'm passionate. And I feel that if you're going to do the arts, be very passionate about what you're going to do.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Because I don't see as much passion as I used to. So even if you're not going in the arts, just in storytelling and things that used to excite children, they have their computers now in their hand, so they don't get that. They're not getting that richness, and somewhere I think we're going to have to figure out how we're going to get that back. How we're going to get, maybe not in the same way, but how we're going to get that richness and that passion and those creative juices starting in our children more than they are right now. But I'm going to leave that alone right now, and I'm going to ask you, what's your story? Your first story?
Oh, my first story would be about a dog and his bone. All right, but before I start my story, we make that sound to call their attention. All right?
Okay.
Okay. So this little dog, every day he would go to this butcher, and the butcher would always give him a nice juicy big bone. A nice big juicy bone. So this particular day, as he was going across the little bridge, he looked over into the brook. Can you help me look over in the brook? Can you help me look over in the brook? Because the brook has what? The brook has like water in the brook. Well, when he looked over into the brook, he thought he saw another dog, and he began to... And just as he did that, thinking that it was another dog, what do you think he did? What happened to his bone? He dropped the bone. And he found out later, he was so sad. It was not another dog. It was him. So you figure out the moral of that little story there. Okay? All right. The next story is The Selfish Giant.
Before we get to The Selfish Giant, we're going to go on a commercial because we don't want to miss anything in her story. So right now we're going to move on to a commercial, and we're going to be right back with The Selfish Giant.
Yo, I went all the way up to the 12th grade, you know, and I was skipping school. I was selling. I was out there doing bad things because I thought I could just get the fast way. My aunt knew. She came busting at me, came hitting, knocking me upside the head, telling me, you know, to stay in school because they told her, they called in, parents, you know, you got to keep on top of your kids because at the end of the day, they got to stay in school for the future for y'all and your family to grow. Stay in school, it's a big deal.
Welcome back to Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner, and we're back with Joyce Small and the Selfish Giant.
Oh, I see you've come back. Oh, okay, all right. My next one is about this selfish giant. Oh, gee, and some little children. Now, every day, these little children would play. They would just run around, and they saw a gate open, and they went through the gate because it was a nice, big, beautiful yard. But it was owned by a giant. And this giant at times would be he was kind of mean. At least the children thought he was. Because whenever they would go and play in his yard, it was a beautiful yard with flowers and swings of all kinds of trees. They would hear this voice saying, "Hey, you kids, what are you doing in my yard? Hey, you get out of my yard and don't come back." And they would say, oh, no. Oh, he doesn't want, hurry up, let's go. And they would hurry up out of the giant's yard. Well, one day, when they went in again, and they were playing, and they were running up and down, and they didn't hear no voice. And they told one of them, hey, what happened to the giant? We don't hear him. What's going on? So the caretaker of the yard, of the garden, of all those beautiful flowers, he said, you know what, children? The giant became sick. He's so sick. Oh, and they said, oh, can you do that with me? Oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry about that. But could you tell the giant that we are so sorry that he was sick and that we hope he gets well? And the caretaker said, oh yes, I will. So the caretaker told the giant. The giant said to him, what was all that noise out there? What happened? I thought I heard the children. Well, the children hoped that you would get well. Now, one of the children's mother had made a very special tea. I think it was called thyme. And every time that somebody got sick, they would give them this thyme tea. Can you say that with me very fast? Thyme tea. Thyme tea.
Thyme tea.
So he gave it to the giant. The giant became well. And he was so glad. So when he saw the children, he was so happy till he told them, you can come in my yard anytime and play. And he even grabbed their hand and they went around in a circle and just, and they had a very good time. Okay. The next is about the donkey ride. Okay, now, have your parents ever told you, now stay put, or don't go there, or don't do this, or don't do that? Well, this a family, this little girl and her parents went to the park. And in the park, they had donkey rides. So her mother said, now I'm going to get something to eat, and you stay here, and remember, don't go near the donkey. Well, the little girl, as her mother went to get something to eat, she looked at the donkey. Donkey looked at her. And she said, I just want to ride on you. really doesn't want to ride. So she looked around. She looked around. She didn't see her mother. So she went through the gate. And she got on the donkey. And just as she got on the donkey went, ah, 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 ah. And she said, help, help. And she was bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down. Ah, ah, help. And as her mother came through with the food, she dropped the food. She said, oh, Ellie, oh, I told you, don't ride on the donkey. She said, well, somebody help me. He said, help me, my daughter's on the donkey. And just she said that, the owner of the donkey said, hey, he paused, and the donkey said, ah. So he took her off, gave her to her mother. But you know something? She was so sore because that donkey rider, she got up and down. She could hardly sit down. So her mother said, have you learned your lesson when I told you don't? And can you say that what the donkey said? Ah, ah, ah. Okay, 3 little boys went in their little sailboat. And they also were told, don't go far out. Don't go far out. So as they were sailing along, and they were having a good time, a storm arose. And they became very afraid because they had drifted a little ways out from the shore. So, and as the storm got stronger, one of them fell overboard. And he also hollered, help somebody, help me. So the little boys, the other 2, had a rope. So they threw the rope out, but the rope was too short. But just then, a captain of the tugboat saw them and said, hey, you boys, what is the problem over there? We're so afraid. My friend, our rope was too short, and our friend fell over. Can you help us? He said, oh, yes. Now, don't fear. Have no fear. Don't fear. I will save you. I will rescue you. Okay? So the captain of the tugboat rescued the 3 little boys, and he rowed them all the way back to shore to their parents who were anxiously waiting. And they never did that again. Okay? Right.
So what are the lessons? You're telling stories.
The lessons
are lesson stories.
Okay, the lessons.
Yes.
One is obedience. One of it is obedience. And one of it's only selfish. Can't be selfish. You must learn how to share. You must learn to share. And also, the one with the little boys in the boat was one about obedience, but know that someone is there to save you, to rescue you when you have a problem or you get into trouble.
Someone we have. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So those were very good lesson tales about the giant. The big bad giant who was so mean and wouldn't let the children play in the yard.
Yes.
And then the little disobedient girl who got on the donkey. I see that little girl who got on that donkey. Do you see that little girl who got on that donkey? Which little girl do you know that got on that donkey? That's the little girl you ought to talk to right away. What little girl got on that donkey? And 3 little boys in a boat that went out. Now, you didn't tell us.
I wrote that myself.
Did they have permission?
Well, you know what? That's a good question.
Did they have permission to go out on that
they had
boat?
permission.
They
had permission, but they were told not to go, to be careful not to go too far.
So anybody could get into trouble. So that was just like anybody could get into trouble. They got on the boat. Their rope was too short, but there was somebody there to help them. Isn't that wonderful? Usually there is somebody there to help us in our hour of need. strangers that we don't even know stopped and helped the boys. So those were 3 wonderful lessons, and I thank you very much for them. And it is time for another commercial, and we will be right back. See you in a minute.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I do business as Light Source Productions. I provide professional services in the area of strategic video communications. First, what we do is we help you craft your message using what I call the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. We do event documentation, content acquisition, full-scale productions, editing, and of course distribution through our social media television network. And with social media, video is more important now than it has ever been. Whether you're talking big business, small business, nonprofit, church, or just an individual. Let's say you plan you're planning an event, a wedding, whatever the case may be. But let's say a big event, but no video. And you spent all this time, all these hours to put this event on, and maybe 100, 200 people attend the event. But more important than that is that thousands could attend by watching it on social media. But of course, you don't think about this until after the event is over. You can't afford not to capture it for social media. And despite what people think, I am affordable. Give me a call. Let's plan your next video project and share it with the world on my social media television network. I promise you that you will have the attention of one person, me.
I started skipping school at a very young age, around 5th or 6th grade, I want to say, because no one really paid attention and it was fun. My family was a broken down family. My mother was an independent mom, but she struggled, but she did the best she could. If I can go back and do it all over again, I'd say stay in school. Make sure your kids go to school. It's a big deal.
Okay, Miss Joyce has another story for us, and welcome back to Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner. I'm just going to go right to you. Okay, Miss Joyce, go ahead.
Now, this story is about a cane rat. What size is kindness? And the title of it, again, is What Size is Kindness? And it's an African folk tale retold by Joseph Sherman. Okay. And by the way, this story is taken from highlights July, August, and guess what year? 1992. I'll let you figure that out, or have your parents help you. Now, what size is kindness? Long ago, in the days when animals and people could speak to each other, a hunter set out with his bow and arrows to find game. He heard a strange sound and stopped to listen. There it was again, a dry little scratchy little sound, and it was coming from a hole in the ground. What was making the sound? It was a cane rat, a scrawny, ugly little cane rat that had fallen into the hole and couldn't climb out. Help me, he begged the hunter. Please, kind man, help me out of this hole. The hunter lowered his bow into the hole, and the cane rat eagerly scrambled up the bow and out of the hole. Thank you, said the cane rat. I would have starved down there. Kind man, if I can ever help you, I will. The hunter laughed. What? You help me? A funny little thing like you? We shall see, said the cane rat, and with a nod of his head, he scurried off. Grinning, the hunter went on his way too. But he hadn't gone far before the wind began to rise, and great storm clouds began tumbling overhead. I'd better find shelter, he said. The hunter hurried into a cave to wait for the rain to stop. He settled down to eat the food he had brought with him. See the hunter? Suddenly, a shadow darkened the mouth of the cave as a huge lion came bounding in. The hunter tried to grab his bow, but the lion blocked his way. He was trapped. Ah! Good day to you, lion, said the hunter politely. Is this your cave? I didn't mean to take it from you. I was only waiting for the rain to stop. So now, if you'll step aside, I'll be on my way and... No, roared the lion. Stay. Eat your meal, man. And then I will eat you. The hunter thought that this was surely the end of him. But all at once, there came a laugh. A laugh that echoed through the cave. Oh, yes, boomed a great and terrible voice. The hunter will eat his meal. The lion will eat the hunter. And then I will eat the lion. Where are you? Snarled the lion. All around you. Who are you? The mighty laugh, ha 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 ha, rang all through the cave. I am the terrible slayer of lions. Hurry, lion, eat the hunter, so that I may eat you. The lion hesitated. I don't think I'm very hungry now, he muttered, and he turned and ran out of the cave, ran just like a frightened cub until he was out of sight. The hunter snatched up his bow. Who was this terrible slayer of lions? Who could be fearsome enough to frighten away a lion? He whispered. I could, said the cane rat, stepping out from behind a rock. But you're only a scrawny little cane rat, the hunter said. Who had that terrible voice? I did, said the cane rat modestly. I know I am too small to fight the lion, but the wonderful echoes in this cave made even my little voice sound great and powerful. The hunter laughed. Oh, my clever friend, forgive me for mocking you. You may be small, but I should have realized that cleverness and kindness know no size.
Oh, wonderful story. Wasn't that a wonderful story? That was a wonderful, wonderful story. Thank you so much, Joyce, for sharing that with us and sharing your time. Oh, did I interrupt it? Oh, don't, let me be quiet. Hey, all right.
The time is And that's the end. Oh, do come back. You want to hear about the king? Remember about kindness, okay? Remember, you're never too small. Or you're never too big. Okay.
Okay, sorry about my interruption. That was a really nice ending too. So I really love that. And your reading was great. Your voices and everything was really wonderful. So it was great to have you here today and to listen to your stories. And I hope someday that we can have you back again, and maybe you know what I've always liked to, and I ask Professor Mama, he's up in Willimantic. I think he's still there. I always wanted to tell a story with him. You know, 2 storytellers or 3 storytellers telling the story, and he would dance. You know, he would dance in his African way, which was a very smooth, his very smooth dance. But we Americans do a little more. We're a little more jagged in that. And I always thought that the 2 dancers together, coming out separately and then coming together as one, just wonderful together and dance, like bringing Africa and America together again. That
idea.
That was just one of my thoughts.
That's a great idea.
Long ago when I heard him tell one of his stories. And it was great. I would love to do a story with you one time.
Oh, thank you.
And we could sort of
I'll be glad to.
Back and forth.
Oh, I'll be glad to.
Oh, yeah, that would be
thanks for
a lot of fun. Yes.
That's an idea that you got.
That's another idea. Creative juices flowing. So, you know, it's time to go now, but I hope you had a really wonderful time in listening to Joyce's stories, Miss Joyce Small stories. I hope that you did. I really enjoyed them very much, and we will see you next week. And you remember the lessons of the stories. Tell them to someone else. Share those stories. That's what stories are for, to be shared. And you remember, read a little, write a little, dream big, and I will see you next week.